All right, mark the calendars, folks. December 10th, 2022 is the moment that the picture became clear for this Golden State Warriors squad. The regular season doesn't matter unless it's a statement game like tonight when the Warriors in an NBA Finals rematch defeated the Boston Celtics handily, and it made me feel great about their odds for a fifth world championship. I got the Krueg show on with me, Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith, Dan Coccimiglio, Kylen Mills coming on in just a moment. We're going to break it all down. It's a Saturday night live party. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. You can follow Larry Krueger and his band of misfits. Your Twitter accounts aren't in front of me. I don't have them memorized, but you'll tell them, the audience, when you're on the air. Let's start with Larry Krueger, the host of the Krueg Show. Larry, your first reaction to the Warriors beating handily the Boston Celtics 123-107. And gentlemen, how's everyone doing? Larry, let's start with you.
Well, I'm doing great. So thanks for having us. And to do this, we're starting here. We're going to move over to the Krueg Show at some point. You know, I it's hard to evaluate this Warrior team because the regular season means so a great distance between now and the playoffs that what you're seeing in November and December is not what you're going to see at the end of the year. So the Warriors, I mean, the Celtics lead score 120 points a game. They got held 13 under their season average, so it was motivated. And then Golden State hammered them on the glass. I mean, look at the numbers on the glass. 14 on the glass. 53-39 Warriors. The offensive glass, 42-33 on the defensive glass. So DiVincenzo tonight, Moses Moody. I kind of like the current distribution of minutes. A little for Ty Jerome, more minutes for Moses Moody. I like that. You have a chance to see that really what it's going to take to win, and what it's going to take is and Poole all have to provide points. Green's got to give them some off points to go with 4 boards and a couple of assists. He looked good. And then that guy off the bench that's got to go double figures. And tonight he had 14. So all those things you got rebounding galore. The team rebounding. I mean, 15 rebounding I thought was a major strength for Golden State. And you know what? Is Boston's record, even though they're the one, they look like the best team in basketball. Maybe come playoff time, we're going to see the same kind of thing. So I was very encouraged. You're one of these Warrior people that's like pump the brakes on these early season struggles. I think tonight was the game as the hey, we're going to be all right. Don't mark us. Don't forget about us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Larry, your audio is choppy. I'm guessing it's because you're on your phone. But Ryan, you take over, man. Welcome to the show. You've never been on here before. Neither has Dan Coccimiglio. Again, I call you two the Band of Misfits. You're on with the Krueg, with Larry Krueger and his show, the Krueg Show, every night pretty much. Ryan, what was your first impression of the Warriors' dominating game tonight?
I mean, the thing that just makes me pretty excited for this Warriors team is, well, I mean, I thought the handicap going into this game was Celtics are out for blood, no Wiggins, Brown and Tatum, Kylen. Brown and Tatum are on an absolute heater. I heard Bill Simmons on his podcast basically. Okay, it's a family show, but he was being going way crazy on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Will Tatum be the best player in the league? And Brown, they're taking all these steps. The best thing is that Tatum looked exactly like he did in the finals. He just kind of disappeared, sort of became passive, wasn't able to finish at the rim. really had none of that superstar impact you need to have. Like when you got Curry making 6 shots, you have to be able to match that, or else the momentum is going to get too much, just how the NBA goes. And Brown, same thing. He played great. So just the fact that they didn't have Wiggins, and you'd think that the Celtics would be super hungry for this one. And then the Warriors, I don't know. It didn't even seem like they played like their A+ game. They just kind of stayed, the Celtics stayed attached the whole time, but it was between 5 and 10, but I don't know. The Warriors didn't seem like they're really sweating it. And I thought it was interesting to see Clay and Jordan Poole kind of hucking it at the beginning of the game. Like I think Curry had 4 shots at one point to their combined 13 or 14. And Clay and Poole were just absolutely chucking it up. And I think it was kind of smart because those guys got in a rhythm. It's easier for Steph to just fall into a rhythm because he's been so hot. And so when you got those guys out and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now Steph's with the bench. He's going to finish the quarter. He's going to give the bench some confidence. And got to give a shout out to Dante DiVincenzo, because I think that he is going to emerge as the guy on the bench that all the people that watch all the Warriors games are similar to GP. I'm not going to go that far, but it's like, whoa, plus 20. He's like, if you look at the bench, he's the one guy that really stands out there. So overall, super exciting. And now I think I would pick the Warriors, although the Celtics are still better.
And by the way, Ryan Smith bet on the Celtics tonight. Shame on you. You got your karma, son, and you lost your money. Meanwhile, Dan Coccimiglio and I won money. Kylen Mills is in the house. Good to see you. How are you?
Kylen.
Let's get your reaction, and Dan, we'll save you for last. What was your reaction, Kylen, to tonight's game?
So I'm super excited, as the rest of us are, to see the Golden State Warriors rout the hottest team in the NBA tonight. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling for Dub Nation. I think one of the most encouraging parts of this performance was A, the performance of Steph Curry, B, to see Klay Thompson put up so many numbers and to be able to fall into rhythm, because he's a player who struggled forcing shots early on in the season. And I do believe that this team goes as Klay Thompson goes. And when Klay Thompson is forcing shots, when he's getting down first pass on the floor and is just chucking up threes that aren't going in, I think the offense struggles, because this offense does better when there are being multiple passes made, when there's inside out movement. And when Klay Thompson is rushing it, I think the entire team struggles. So when Klay Thompson's able to get into a rhythm, it's going to help the entire team. So to see him put up 34 points and to me be a little bit more patient as he's been during this last stretch of games, I think that's an encouragement. I do like what what was just mentioned about Dante DiVincenzo being one of my favorite pieces off the bench. And Cy, I know you and I have talked about that quite a bit, and just that I think he's a great decision maker with the ball. He's a great playmaker. We saw he didn't put up a lot of points tonight, and he has been able to contribute at least double-digit points on some nights, like we saw 10 points last night. However, it's the intangibles, the things off the ball that he does to me that make Dante DiVincenzo such a great addition to this second unit. You see the 8 rebounds, the 3 assists, and he only had 1 steal tonight, but I think generally his defensive energy is so good. And to me, as a team, that was one of the things that stood out to me about the Warriors tonight, was the defensive energy and the defensive intensity. And that's been lacking a lot this season, especially in the second unit. And to me, it just looked totally different tonight. I think the Warriors brought the right amount of energy. I think to me, defense was one of the key things. And then also winning the battle on the boards. And it was the same thing we saw in that NBA Finals series last season when the Warriors won the battle on the boards. They typically ended up winning the game in that series against the Celtics. And it seemed to me to the same thing tonight. A lot of credit has to go to Kevon Looney for battling inside. I think that this is a favorable matchup for Kevon Looney. And in general, when the Warriors are able to really battle to bring in those rebounds and to prevent second chance points, they're successful against the Boston Celtics. And to me, that was another key stat tonight. But all in all, like, you've got to feel good about where the Warriors are at now with this momentum going in after their last 10 to 12 stretch of games and beating the hottest team in the NBA. I think it's great moving forward. Still, to me, the second unit remains unproven, though, and that's where some of my questions lie as far as being a championship contender.
That's fair. Dan Coccimiglio, you and I were big winners tonight financially. Dan, what was your reaction to tonight's game?
Yeah, I loved it. I bet the money line thinking the Warriors, and I bet the under. I thought the Warriors would come out and play their best defensive game of the year, and the intensity. And you all have given great credit to Clay and Steph and DiVincenzo. My 2 unsung heroes tonight were Kuminga and Looney. Looney had a series where it was like 3 consecutive plays. He got the rebound, put it back in, blocked a shot, had a great assist. And it was just like, Kevon Looney is just like your blue collar type guy that just goes out there and does everything you want. And he's just kind of a Warriors unsung hero. And my feeling on Jonathan Kuminga is this. After watching him this week, we're watching the development of a superstar, I believe.
Yes.
I believe at 20 years old, the kid just turned 20 a couple months ago. He's got so much room to grow. And I just think where they're at with him, Wiggins was out tonight, and he basically took on guarding the toughest guys, either Tatum or Brown, and he was shutting them down. Tatum only got 18 points tonight. Jonathan Kuminga, I'm telling you, as this kid gets more tuned in with the game of basketball, you're looking at a 2010 guy every night in the future.
25-10, a little bit further down the line. He could be again, I've said this for a little while now. I see superstardom with this kid. We're going to have a lot more in just a moment. Got a couple sponsors here. Just bear with me, please. First up, the National, I think it's the Highway Transportation Safety Agency. They have a PSA here. Follow along with me. This one's especially for Ryan. You're hanging out with some, sorry, I'm kidding. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Ryan, you didn't lose your friend because of this, by the way, did I? Was that a super tasteless joke?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, because I know you lost your friend. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue on. Let's say you're driving. You live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up. You lose your license. You lose your job. You total your car. You kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of drunk driving. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe, folks, especially tonight. It's Saturday. Plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Tonight's show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. And you know what I bet tonight? And the whole premise of PrizePicks is this. You're betting on a minimum of 2 players, and it's all about over-unders, okay? So for tonight, for example, I bet on, and I'm going to show you right now, I didn't bet a huge amount of money on this, but I won, and I'm happy because when you gamble and you win, it's like one of the best feelings ever. So when I played PrizePicks, I bet on Stephen Curry to get over 29.5 points. And because you can't bet on 2 players on the same team if you're only making 2 selections, I went with Jaylen Brown with the over of 26.5. And Dan Coccimiglio and myself are winners tonight. I won through PrizePicks. You can win too. It's legal in California. It's such a fun game. I can't recommend it enough. And again, all you got to do is just bet over-unders on individual accomplishments. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit 50, 25, whatever the amount is, they will match it. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. We're going to be done here in about 20 minutes, maybe less, but the party is not ending. We're just going to migrate over to the Krueg show. Larry, why don't you tell people how folks out there can find your show when we're done with this? And on that note, why don't we follow up on what Kylen said about the bench? Were you happy with it? Collectively, the bench scored a whopping total of 19 points. Now, granted, Jordan Poole started instead of coming off the bench normally. That's not a huge number. The Warriors thankfully had massive productions from the Splash Brothers. Jordan Poole had a great game. Jonathan Kuminga had a great game off the bench, but he was about it in terms of scoring output. What were your thoughts on the bench? Are you happy with the production? And how can people find your show when we migrate there in 20 minutes?
Well, there's a couple different ways. You can go to YouTube and type in the Krueg. Also, if you follow me on Twitter, we put out a link about 15 minutes ago, and you'll go right into the show. So check us out. As far as the bench, we points, but the bench accounted for 20 rebounds tonight. An incredible job rebounding. And also, if you look at it, Warriors had 13 turnovers, only attributable to the bench players. So, the bench guys took care of the ball. They rebounded the ball. The factor in this game was Golden State. I would say it probably is their high water mark for. They got 19 fast break points. Most nights it's 5, 6, a lot. I think the Celtics are a better defensive team in the half court. So you got to get out and get. And I thought Golden State did that effectively.
Absolutely. And sorry again, folks, for the audio issues. I think I got the gist of it. Ryan, what were your thoughts on the bench, and anything else you want to add in on that note, in case Larry's audio cut out regarding where to find the show?
Yeah, I would just
because we're going to.
I would add the Krueg show is Krueg, Krueg. Just look up in the YouTube. Just go to the search menu in YouTube and just type in the Krueg show, Krueg, and you'll find us.
Awesome. I love the trolls, by the way. Bruce Morrow, I'm not going to fall into your trap, man. That is bait at its finest. Lamb was the best player from the bench. Sure, pal. I'm not going to fall for that. You almost got me. Ryan, why don't you? What were your thoughts, Ryan, on the bench and anything else that stuck out to you tonight?
I think that one thing that really stuck out to me is Ty Jerome played 2 minutes.
Mother, you know what, you son of a, you just had to go there. Kylen, what were your thoughts on Ryan lost his chance? What were your thoughts on
mute him?
No, I'm saying that's a positive. Kerr gets it. He gets it.
Garbage time.
How could that not be? Yeah, how could that not? I mean, it's like no Ty Jerome. Whoa, they look like much better. And I got to add on to Kuminga.
Yeah,
he's got this is one of those things where I think it's a little different with Wiseman because he's a big guy. But, when people say usually you can kind of tell if someone has it or they don't by second, third year, he has it. He has it. It's a matter of I'm now 90% sure that he's going to get there and actually be like an all-star player. But just the fact that he carried that competitiveness from Utah, which was just a joy to watch. He seriously was like the emotional leader of the team, just the way he was playing. Because there's no Curry out there hitting splashy 40-foot threes to silence the crowd. Instead, it was Kuminga just being a dog. So, Kuminga today, it seemed like he could smell that Tatum was, kind of in his own head, being a little passive. And he was just hounding him. Yeah, he's his defensive technique isn't the greatest. But, it's getting way better. And he's putting in the effort. And he's setting good screens. He's playing
within the system now. He's playing
hitting
within the
threes. Yes. And he seems like he's motivated and fired up to play within the system. So, man, even if just he pops, that's.
How about that play down low when Tatum just hacked him and then he got the ball back and he went up and slammed it right. And he was fired up because he was turned around to the ref, said, "Man, he clobbered me."
Is he going to be unstoppable at some point? That
Yeah.
Utah game where it's he's 19 years old. He's already stronger than everyone on the court, and he's freaking massive. And he just he's Kuminga angry, and just one dribble, everyone's bouncing off him, and he's just jamming on people. It's kind of reminds me a little bit almost of a Zion situation.
Kuminga learned in that Jazz game that no one can stop him. It was one of the most beautiful moments I've ever experienced in my life. Kylen, what were your thoughts on the bench? Are you happy with it? I've also heard a few people say that the Warriors might be just one player away. I'm going to push back and say I think Wiseman might be it. I don't know if you need to make a trade. What are your thoughts on all of that stuff?
Well, first of all, to go off of Ryan's point, something
Yeah.
I actually tweeted after that Jazz game was that when Jonathan Kuminga puts it all together, both defensively and offensively, he is unstoppable. And I think over the last stretch of games, we've seen him start to get it defensively to where he's in the right position, he's making the right plays, he's getting blocks, he's pulling in rebounds. And then now offensively, we're starting to see him get just the flow of the game, get in the system, as you guys have mentioned. He's doing a much better job of setting screens. To me, that is very noticeably an improvement. And then once he starts to get that confidence on the offensive end, I believe that Jonathan Kuminga will be unstoppable because of his length, his size, his athleticism. And, just once he starts to build that confidence and aggressiveness, I think Jonathan Kuminga is absolutely going to be unstoppable. He has the potential to be an NBA All-Star. It's just when it all comes together for him. And he's still in his second season in the NBA. And that's what I think it's so hard for some of us to keep in mind. It's just that he still has so much time and room for growth. And to me, the fact that we're starting to see it even come together now is so encouraging. And when he plays within the Warriors system and he just kind of lets the game come to him, we're starting to see the offense develop naturally. And that's where Jonathan Kuminga is at his best. And I know Larry pointed out the 20 rebounds that the second unit got. So to me, that's one thing that did stand out. And Jonathan Kuminga was a product of 5 rebounds. Dante DiVincenzo, who I already pointed out, and I love his game. I think he brings a great defensive energy. 8 rebounds for Dante DiVincenzo, I think can't be overlooked in that second unit. And then another player I want to bring up is Moses Moody, brought in 5 rebounds. And I know he's relatively quiet when it comes to points tonight, just 2 points. We saw him make a couple of big threes down the stretch of the last couple of games and in the Jazz game. But he also can be effective when, once again, he's just playing in the system and he's just playing smart defense, taking care of the ball, and then trying to, just really disrupt other teams. And to me, those 5 rebounds are something that was, a contribution tonight. And that's one thing I think is important for these young players, including James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody. Like, you don't have to score a ton of points with the way this team is designed. You don't have to come in and be a point scorer per se. Let the game come to you offensively and just do what Steve Kerr is asking of you defensively and in the system when it comes to setting screens and running the offensive system. And then, buckets will come at some point. But to me, I didn't hate Moses Moody's contributions tonight. I thought he was effective. I thought Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb, to me, were the most ineffective off the bench tonight. And those two in particular, to me, just continue to look like they're just not quite there. And I think that I've pointed out recently, that I think that there's some times that defensively Anthony Lamb is out of position and maybe not sliding where he needs to slide and just over helping in some situations. And to me, that seems to still be a common thing. But I thought that Moses Moody, those 5 rebounds was something noticeable to me tonight. But I wasn't unhappy with the defense or with the second unit. I just still am questioning whether they are one piece away. And I still think the Warriors need one more big in that second unit. I'm going to stand by that because I do believe this was a favorable matchup for the Warriors. But I think against certain teams, certain matchups, and we saw, Kevon Looney being proven ineffective against a stretch 5, that I do believe they need one more athletic big on the bench. And so to me, I still do feel like they are one piece away. I feel like the Warriors are right there, but I would like to see them add a big in this rotation still, whatever way they can get one.
Dan, I'm going to ask you to wait for just 1 second while I give some love to BetOnline. Sorry for covering you up there, Kylen, with the overlay. BetOnline.net, they're your number 1 source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. And actually, I'll throw it back to Dan here for a second because, Dan, you bet on the Warriors' money line. They were in a very unusual position tonight, underdogs at home, which I haven't seen in a very long time. When I saw the line, it was 2.5 in favor of the Celtics.
Right.
You bet the money line. What was the line? And you also wanted the under. What were those 2 lines exactly?
Yeah, the under was 237.5. And I didn't actually do the line. I just did the money line, but I think it was 2.5. I just took the straight. I just figured the Warriors would win tonight. I going on a big road trip, coming off a horrible loss, they just had to, play all out tonight and just leave it on the floor. And I didn't think that, especially with Robert Williams and what Kylen was mentioning, the Warriors needing an extra big man. If Robert Williams was in that game tonight, it would have been a lot more tough for the Warriors to control the boards like they did. I think they out-rebounded them 53-39 or something. But, Williams is a huge presence down there and
Yes.
shot blocker. And so, yeah, I don't know who that person might be that's out there. I'm hearing a lot of things about Jock Pirtle out there. That's
Jacob Podol.
Yeah, Jacob.
But anyway,
Pirtle.
so let me just finish the read here real quick. But you
Jakob.
won. You were a big winner. And folks, if you're a gambler like Dan is, like I am, betonline.net is your resource. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online. It's where the game starts.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. One final segment, Dan. I want to ask all of you this as we wrap it up and then migrate over to the Krueg show. Is James Wiseman enough? Like, do the Warriors? I know Kylen and I'll save you for last here. But Dan, we'll start with you. Is James Wiseman? Do you think he could be enough in terms of that missing big? That could be missing. And I also want to add as well, even though the Celtics were missing both Time Lord and Al Horford, the Warriors were missing Andrew Wiggins. So it does kind of balance out in that regard. But my two questions to wrap it up: is Wiseman enough? And if not, do you think they should make a trade? And what do you think is going to happen for this upcoming 6-7 games? It's a tough stretch the Warriors have coming up here. They're about to start on a 6-game road trip that includes at Milwaukee on Tuesday, then Indiana, Philly, Toronto, New York, Brooklyn, and then they come back home for a Christmas Day game against the Memphis Grizzlies. That is a gnarly 7-game stretch. Dan, is Wiseman enough, and what do you see happening these next 7 games?
Yeah, I do think Wiseman will be enough, not currently, but I think that I think if they give him 20 games down in the G League, it's, 2/3 of a college season, and the kid hasn't played hardly at all. I mean, he had half a year before he got hurt his rookie year, and that was an awful team that won, I don't know what they won that year, but anyway, I do think they're going to work with him, and I think he's getting better. He had his best game the other night, 26 points, 9 of 10, was actually had some emotion. Showed some emotion, which is good for James Wiseman, because I think if you get him enough where he starts feeling like, if I'm going to play in this league, I got to fight for it. I got to earn my minutes. And he'll play if he earns his minutes, but they're not going to play him if he doesn't earn his minutes. And so I think that's good, is make him hungry. And somewhere around the Warriors are a third through the season now. They played 27 games. They're 14-13. Somewhere
Correct.
around the halfway point, the last 40 games, I think you'll see James Wiseman contribute. And all you really need is 10 to 15 minutes from him, productive minutes a night. That's it.
I love the chat, by the way. It's pure comedy. Krueger, your thoughts as we start wrapping it up. And by the way, the bottom of the screen has the link for the Krueg Show's YouTube page. Go there as soon as we're done. The party continues. Larry, your thoughts?
I think they'd need one more piece. Now, is it James? I hope it's James. I think but I don't know for sure that it is. And I think the two teams that I'm looking at, Toronto could scrap it if they get to midseason. And we've seen their GM do that in the past. They've got Barnes on this team. Now they have Siakam. Siakam might be the missing piece. Those two guys I'd really want to see if Toronto's going to make a move midseason, and you might have to, but maybe some combination of Moody and Wiseman would be enough to get it to Scotty Barnes, and I love Pascal Siakam. And then the other team is San Antonio. Thing yesterday that San Antonio doesn't want Wiseman, doesn't want Kuminga, but would like Moody. Well, if you can make a deal sending Moses and picks, they don't have a lot of picks. 2 picks in the future they could include with Moses, and they could get Jakob Pirtle. Maybe you and Wiseman Wiseman, continue to develop Wiseman, and still have Pirtle there. The one thing I want to do, and I want to see Kevon Looney play a few less minutes. He's playing right now at his load he's ever had. And I think they're asking a lot of him. They're going to need him in. So I'd like to see his minutes reduced a little bit, just so he's able to run the end.
Absolutely. Ryan, your thoughts as we start wrapping it up here.
I'm not counting on Wiseman this year. It's not gonna. I mean, maybe you get 10 minutes out of him, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, is that much different than just picking some guy up on the buyout market? And that's just like a big. I mean, for 10 minutes, I mean, it just doesn't seem like it would make that much difference. It'd be good to see him develop like that, but I think he's just on a little bit of a longer trajectory, and I honestly don't think he will be able to handle the pressure of like, you need to be, this by that time. He kind of just has to go at his own pace. It's fine. It's totally fine. I still think that he's going to be a player, but it's one of those things like you look at the Niners with, always talk about Aaron Banks, the guard. It's like, obviously it's been a few years now for Wiseman, but like Banks didn't play at all his first year. And then it's like, okay, he came back like a month, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's happening?" Wiseman just needs to play basketball. If he has to spend the whole season at the G League and then come up for depth for 10 minutes, that's fine. The Warriors will have their pick at the buyout market of some pretty good names. So.
We'll see. And Kylen, let's wrap it up with you. And again, folks, that ticker at the bottom of the YouTube screen indicates where we're going next. This party is not over. We're just going to migrate from Locked On Warriors to the Krueg Show. Kylen, is James Wiseman going to be the answer? If not, should they trade him? And also, what do you see these next 7 games leading to that Christmas marquee matchup against the Grizzlies? Your final thoughts.
Center James Wiseman, I think, is the future of this organization. I think he can be enough in future seasons, just not right now. I believe that James Wiseman needs more time in the G League, and we're starting to see him develop some of that feel for the game, starting to develop some of that confidence, and that's what is crucial for James Wiseman right now. I don't think the Warriors are at a point where they can rely on him, especially when you look down the road of the season into into the playoff picture where he stands. I don't think they can rely on James Wiseman to be that rim protector, to be that athletic big that they're going to need down the stretch of the season. I think the best case scenario for the Golden State Warriors is to not sacrifice any of the future in a trade, but to sign a veteran minimum big like DeMarcus Cousins. And I've mentioned it in previous podcasts that we've spoken on. Cyrus, you've also mentioned Dwight Howard, but I think bring in a big that you can sign without having to trade anyone away, who can potentially add that option in the second unit. It doesn't have to be someone who needs to put up big numbers, who has to do a ton in the second unit, but just to add some size to that second unit without putting too much pressure on James Wiseman, because I still think Wiseman needs more development. And as Larry's pointed out, several of you guys have pointed out, he played half a season his rookie season. He played 3 collegiate games. I just think he needs more time. I think James Wiseman needs more time. I don't like the idea of the Warriors completely relying on him come the postseason. And that's where I'd like to see another veteran big be an option off the bench, especially in certain matchups. So to me, that's where I would like to see the Warriors try to sign someone without having to give away anyone in a trade. They have that extra roster spot. Bring someone in who has experience, who has size, who has athleticism, and can be an option. It doesn't have to be a player who needs to do a lot, and especially in the scoring category. I personally like Boogie Cousins. I know you brought up Dwight Howard. I'm not opposed to Dwight Howard either, although some people, have issues with reports about his attitude, whatever. I still think the Warriors could possibly bring in a big without having to give up any of the future.
I love the fact we have over 250 people in this chat. Saturday Night Live is on, baby. That was a huge win. Cannot emphasize that enough. This was a statement game for the Golden State Warriors. It just reminds everyone, I hope it did, that when they care, they're unbeatable, folks. And that's why when it comes to Wiseman, I have some faith in him. Those 5 minutes were very scarce, but I loved what I saw in those 5 minutes in Utah. He also had a monster game just last night. I think he had 24 and 10 on 9 of 10 shooting. I believe he was a plus 29. Give Wiseman a shot. That's all I'm saying. I want to actually see him before we make a decision. Anyways, we're migrating. This was a monster game. Warriors win. To me, they're still the hands-down favorite to win the World Championship. And now we're going to the Krueg Show, folks. Thanks, everyone, for chiming in. Kylen, you're coming as well, right?
Sure, why not? We'll keep the party
Yes,
going.
okay. All right,
For the
folks.
invite.
YouTube.com/The Krueg Show. Go check it out. Thank you. Peace out. Thanks, everyone, for coming on, man. That was fun.